declaration after today's shooting to encourage the judge to rule on a temporary restraining order on Monday that would grant us immediate relief and would help stop this operation that has been so harmful to the city of Minneapolis. The state of Minnesota has resulted in multiple shootings and tragic deaths. I have formally requested assistance from the National Guard to support the limited number of officers that we have in the Minneapolis Police Department. We have around 600 officers in total. Days off have been canceled. Our incredible Minneapolis police officers have been working tirelessly to do their day-to-day work, and simultaneously, they are put in the middle of these chaotic situations. We will not be able to do this on our own, and so we are getting assistance from both mutual aid jurisdictions as well as the request to the governor for the National Guard, and we're appreciative of the assistance. Our community is tired. Our officers are tired. Our businesses are tired. And this additional support is necessary. And again, the chaos that we are seeing is caused directly by ICE, border control, and this federal administration. Our top priority is keeping our neighbors and businesses safe, and the additional support will help us do that. Our community service officers are helping to deliver food to families that are in need. Community members are out there peacefully protesting, making sure that their voices are heard. They're escorting workers to their jobs. They're taking care of daycares. It has been extraordinary how people around our city have stepped up during this difficult time. And there is an incredible group of leaders in senators and members of Congress that are here with me to deliver a powerful message in just a couple of minutes. We're also working closely with our immigration task force to make sure that clear and transparent information is coordinated. We'll continue to do everything in our power to keep our neighbors safe and to stand up for our immigrant communities. Most of the protests that we've seen have remained peaceful. Let's keep it that way. Let's not counter Donald Trump's chaos with our own version of chaos here. I understand that people are angry. I'm angry. I understand that people are experiencing trauma. It makes sense. Our communities have been placed on the very front line, and this has been ongoing now for weeks. It must end. Remember, it's only our city that will suffer if there is damage or destruction that is done. Finally, to the victim's family and friends, our hearts are with you. Our love goes out to you. I know that there is nothing that I can say right now that will ease the pain. But I hope you know that Minneapolis cares deeply for you. There are 435,000 residents that will do everything possible to stand with you. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief O'Hara, who can give more of an update on the plans for tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I'm going to provide a brief update on the events today and our plans to maintain order in the city. I recognize that this is a volatile and emotional situation, and our focus remains, as it always has been, on de-escalation, slowing things down, and maintaining peace and order in this city. The situation is stable right now, and it is peaceful, and we intend to keep it that way. After our last press update, additional residents and demonstrators gathered today, and the situation deteriorated. Local and state law enforcement officers were surrounded on multiple sides by a mix of protesters and also agitators who engaged in unlawful acts. Individuals began erecting barricades, throwing glass bottles, ice chunks, and at least 2 separate fires were started in the immediate vicinity. Minneapolis police had to escort firefighters so that they could safely extinguish those fires. The number one priority of our police officers is to protect life and maintain public safety for all people in our community. And so given the volatility and rising public safety risks for residents, for demonstrators, and police officers, state and local law enforcement did deploy less lethal and gas munitions at that assembly in order to allow for a safe egress of law enforcement and to prevent further violence and damage. We do everything that we possibly can to de-escalate whenever possible. And the actions that were taken today were in response to a dangerous and escalating situation that already had multiple confrontations. The gathering at the scene now is peaceful, and we need everyone to respect the lives and property of all people in our community. In order to maintain that peace, we have established a vehicle exclusionary zone in the affected area. That zone has allowed traffic to be safely managed and has significantly reduced the risk of escalation, ensuring access for emergency vehicles, for residents of the area, and for lawful, peaceful demonstrations. This zone will be maintained by uniformed police officers of the Minneapolis Police Department, working alongside members of the Minnesota National Guard. National Guard members will be wearing fluorescent yellow safety traffic vests and will be working alongside uniformed Minneapolis police. In addition to the Minnesota State Patrol and Hennepin County Sheriff's Office that assisted at the scene, the St. Paul Police, Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, and numerous Hennepin County suburban police departments are assisting with answering 911 calls in the city of Minneapolis today. The loss of human life, yet again, is a tragedy. We pray all people can recognize that, and we extend our condolences, as the mayor has said, to the loved ones of the deceased. To the people of our city, we understand that the pressure has been building for weeks. We understand the hurt and frustration that this causes. But again, if you choose to come out, if you choose to demonstrate, peacefully assemble, do so lawfully, and understand that the men and women in this uniform standing here tonight are committed first and foremost to protecting the lives of every single person in this city. We will continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as needed. Senator.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for your strong leadership during this crisis. I'm joined today by Senator Smith, as well as Representatives McCollum and Morrison, and joining us in a statement are Representatives Craig and Omar. Our message is really clear and straightforward. We need ICE out of Minnesota. They are not making us more safe. As the tragic killing this morning, as people saw it viscerally on that video, shows us they are making us less safe. With 3,000 agents, which of course includes border control, outnumbering the sworn police officers in Minneapolis and St. Paul by 3-1, and even larger than the 10 metropolitan police departments. This is completely out of whack, completely out of balance. And now 3 people have been shot, 2 resulting in death. 1, Renee Good, mother of 3, and now Alex Pretti, a 37-year-old Minneapolis man, a citizen, also a nurse. They both have families that love them very much. This city has been under siege. And I want to make something clear. As the mayor and the police chief are doing their job for this city, it's not just the cities. It's not just Minneapolis and St. Paul, as you'll hear from the members of Congress. It is the suburbs where kids have been lured in and abducted. It is small towns all across our state, rural areas. This has gone way beyond some stated purpose of the fraud investigation or apprehending violent offenders. That's not what this is about anymore when you have 3,000 agents overwhelming sworn police officers. I took part in that peaceful and powerful march yesterday, all those peaceful people. And then we wake up this morning to this horror. As members of Congress, we are calling on this administration to get ICE out of our towns, off of our streets. It will make us more safe. We, as a congressional group up here, strongly opposed the ICE funding this week. We opposed it this summer when our Republican colleagues tripled the budget $75 billion. It is now more than the FBI. They reduced the training from 5 months to 47 days. And these are the results. We are also calling for a full and transparent investigation. We have done this before in Minnesota, coordinating with local and state and federal law enforcement. And if they're not going to do it, then they need to get out of the way and allow our very professional Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to conduct the investigation into these killings. And finally, we call on our Republican colleagues to stand with us. I know they know what's going on here because it's happening in their own districts. We have, of course, these shootings, but it is a lot more than that. They know that something's wrong when a Hmong elder is pulled out of a house in his underwear and slippers, and they figure out about an hour later they got the wrong guy, and in fact the guy they were looking for is actually in jail. Or a 2-year-old, a case my office worked on in addition to hundreds more, who's taken with her dad and then put on a plane to Texas when her mom is desperately trying to get her. We got her back, but none of this should be happening. None of it. So we call on our Republican colleagues to join us because we have warned this administration. I have personally warned them that there would be more deaths, that more of this would happen. And clearly they're not listening. So we ask people around the country to talk to their Republican representatives to make clear that this is not the America that is ours. This has got to stop. And with that, I turn it over to my colleague, Senator Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. So today, federal agents beat and then shot multiple times and killed 37-year-old Alex Jeffrey Pretti, a U.S. citizen, a Minneapolis resident, and a VA nurse. Eyewitness video shows once again reckless, violent, and dangerous federal agents taking the life of a Minnesotan. And rather than following standard law enforcement practice, which is focused on public safety and de-escalation, they have killed another person. And the Trump administration has already called Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist. He was a nurse. We send our heartfelt condolences to his family and to his friends. And all Americans should be outraged at this unaccountable, violent federal force, which is operating with impunity in our city. And you need to know, America, that if it can happen here, it can happen in your community too. So we gather here to say, first, I want to say to the president, you must stop Operation Metro Surge immediately and send these ICE agents home so our communities can be safe. Second, it is essential that trusted, impartial state investigators at the BCA are allowed to fully investigate what happened here today. Third, I urge my neighbors to express our grief and outrage at this killing and at the federal invasion of our cities peacefully and with the love that we showed yesterday when so many thousands of us showed up in support of our community. And finally, we must have our Republicans in Congress, they must join with us to condemn this violent and unfettered violent abuse of power and to stop it. And they can do that by refusing to fund this agency so long as it continues to kill and terrorize Americans. That is what Senator Klobuchar and I will be working on in the United States Senate. And I just want to close by thanking so much the local law enforcement and fire departments, not only here in Minneapolis, but all across the state that have been doing everything that they could, everything that you can to keep our cities safe. I once worked in City Hall and I know what it's like. And I am so grateful for their relentless work to keep our communities safe. Representative McCollum.
Well, we have a saying in Congress that we agree and reflect in our remarks those that have spoken before us. So I'm going to take a slightly different tact. You know, today, this morning, Saturday, we lost another life, and it didn't have to be that way. To all the protesters who have been out there peacefully protesting, who have been harmed and injured, it shouldn't be happening to you either. But I want to take a second, as Senator Smith was, just to reflect on the community. St. Paul stands with you, Minneapolis. The East and West Metro, we're united, as well as all Minnesotans. My phones have been ringing off the hook from frustrated members of communities that are asking me to talk to their Republican members of Congress to do something about the escalation of chaos and violence that has been caused by the presence of the Department of Homeland Security. Representative Morrison and I, along with Representative Omar and Craig, had an opportunity to show with our votes on the House floor just this week how disappointed we are that the president refuses to listen. Oh, well, we're more than disappointed. We are outraged. Part of the bill that was on the floor was to provide more body cameras for ICE. Well, they have them already in the thousands, and they refuse to wear them. So Secretary Noem, have your officers suit up and put on their body cameras, just like our law enforcement does. To our law enforcement here, we appreciate you, especially those of you who've been working the extra shifts. To the school boards, to the community service volunteers, everybody out there in this community, you make us so proud to represent you in the United States Congress. We hold our head up high with how Minnesota is reacting to this. We celebrate 250 years of this United States of America. And I'll close with quoting Benjamin Franklin. He came out of the Constitutional Convention and he said, it's a republic if you can keep it. Well, we're showing we want to keep it a republic with peaceful protesting. Stay calm, be safe, take care of one another. And when you see a National Guards person out there trying to relieve one of our police officers, know that they're there to protect you. So please respect everyone out there trying to keep us safe. And with that, I'd like to welcome up my colleague from the West Metro, Representative Morrison.
Thank you, Representative McCollum. You know, the day after tens of thousands of Minnesotans showed the world how to stand up peacefully against this administration's cruelty, lawlessness, and unacceptable occupation, and demand that ICE leave our state and end this federal invasion, the world is watching yet again as one of Donald Trump's federal agents have shot and killed another United States citizen in broad daylight in the middle of the street. First, we lost Renee Nicole Good, and now Alex Jeffrey Pretti, a 37-year-old man, a Minnesotan, an ICU nurse, a resident looking out for his neighbors as Minnesotans always do. And I do want to pause and offer my deepest sympathy and profound condolences to Mr. Pretti's family and friends. I am so sorry for your unimaginable loss. And we are once again now being asked to deny what we saw with our own eyes. We watched the videos of a masked federal agent shooting Alex in the back multiple times while he was pinned down by more than 6 other masked federal agents. And once again, DHS has come out with a predetermined narrative that contradicts everything we saw with our own eyes. 2 37-year-old Minnesotans are now dead, a poet and a nurse. For what? We cannot lose any more lives. We need a full, transparent, and comprehensive investigation led by our BCA. And ICE and Border Patrol need to halt all operations in the state and leave immediately. And Congress cannot be complicit in facilitating these lethal operations and federal occupation of our cities. We are standing here as a united front today, pleading for our Republican colleagues who control the Congress and who took the same oath to defend the Constitution and uphold the rule of law that we did, to stand up and stop this. Put your state and your country first. Put it ahead of your loyalty to this president. Minnesotans are in agony, watching their communities terrorized and families torn apart. ICE and CBP agents are traumatizing our communities, violating Minnesotans' constitutional rights, unlawfully detaining and arresting United States citizens, racially profiling people, forcing schools, restaurants, and businesses to close. And people are dying at the hands of these federal agents. It has to stop now before anyone else is hurt. And I return it to the mayor. Thank you.
I'll just point out again the difference between tens of thousands of people just yesterday peacefully protesting, standing up for their neighbors, no injuries, no damage to property. That is how Minnesota and Minneapolis shows up versus what we saw again this morning. That is what is causing chaos on our streets. Those actions that we saw on video, and you can believe your own eyes. With that, we'll open it to questions.
Senator Klobuchar, are you willing to use every lever of power at your disposal as a member of the minority party to stop what is happening here, up to and including a government shutdown?
Right now, we are focused on getting ICE out of the state. And of course, we will use every lever that we have. But I do remind people that Donald Trump runs the White House. And sadly, because to date, we have not seen the Republican members of Congress standing up, he also seems to run the Congress. But the point here is that there are many changes that we could make. You know, why aren't we helping fund local law enforcement instead of what they did with this bill last summer where they tripled the budget? And why aren't they pledging to have a full investigation of what happened? I have a lot of respect for our local law enforcement here, and I appreciated the words of some of my colleagues who talked about the fact that people have to differentiate here with what they're doing on the front line every single day. So there are many things we could do. Budgets are a value choice. And that's what we're asking our Republican colleagues to do. I work across the aisle all the time. I work with them. And I know that many of them understand that what's going on right now is wrong. And so the way to get to a higher ground, honestly, is to get them to get ICE out of our state right now, to call the president, to speak out as we have been doing day after day after day, and to remember these little kids who are afraid to go to school, and to remember the people who are legal citizens who are wrestled to the ground, yelling, I am born here, I was born here, and to remember these two that we've lost. And I hope that's something that they all take home and that the people of this country do as they look at how they can get this administration to stop this.
Mayor Frank, can you talk about the legal case that you were pursuing and how this shooting changes your strategy? What is your best case scenario on Monday when you go to court?
So there's two forms of request that we have been asking for. The first was this temporary restraining order. The other possibility is some form of injunctive relief. Now, I don't want to get too into the details because I'm bound to get something wrong, but the question is one of urgency and immediacy. The issue is that we recently saw somebody shot and badly injured. We then saw somebody shot and killed, and that was the second one. Chief, I think we've only had 3 homicides in the city this year. Is that right? 2 of them, ICE. 3 homicides. 2 of them were from ICE. And so the relief that we're asking for is stopping this Operation Metro Surge in the immediacy. It's preventing this massive influx of agents that is making it very difficult for us to do our jobs in the city as well as we need to do them. And we need to do regular day law enforcement as well. Yes.
They defied a search warrant this morning. Do you think they'll abide by a court order from the federal judge?
They have to abide this. So the question is, they defied a search warrant this morning. Will they abide by a court order by a federal judge. Everybody listen to that question. The question is, will this administration abide by a court order? These are the underpinnings of our democracy, of our republic, and of this Constitution. The answer better be yes. Whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you abide by those court orders. The answer has to be yes if you are a patriot for this country. And so, yes, my expectation is that they will abide by the court order because there is not an alternative.
If I could just ask you, and also Senator Klobuchar and the other legislators, the rhetoric today seems back to where it was in the aftermath of Renee Good, if not even higher. Senator Klobuchar posted on X, Stephen Miller, then the President slammed Senator Klobuchar's post. I mean, this is going on. The vitriol is through the roof on social media. Is there any way, or how are you going to come together? I mean, is there any way to approach the other side?
Yeah. I'll answer for myself and from the city's perspective, and certainly turn it to Senator Klobuchar. I want everyone to just quickly look at the juxtaposition between the way that Minneapolis is showing up and the way that the federal government is showing up. I want you to look at the difference between the elected leaders and our chief that you've heard talk just before me. They're calling for peace. They're calling for peace notwithstanding this horrific action from the federal government. What are they doing? They're not investigating the person that killed our citizens. They're investigating us. This is political retaliation. This is about a political narrative, and that narrative is making people less safe.
A number of us have spent the last few weeks making our views clear, standing our ground, but also reaching out to this administration, to Republican leaders, to try to get them to understand how dangerous this is, how unsafe this is. I met with chiefs from across the metropolitan area. Chief O'Hara was on this call, and they have been reaching out, some of them publicly, some of them behind closed doors. The business community has been reaching out. I have been personally reaching out to the president's chief of staff and spoken with her. We have done this day after day after day. So we're not just shutting out any discussions, but we've been explaining to them, and I know the governor has, how dangerous this situation is. And I have specifically told people that someone else was going to die. I said this a few days ago. I said it might be by a car, it might be by some other way. And it just seems like you hope that they're going to de-escalate, and then they keep escalating it up. Right now, I hope they're listening, and I mostly hope that our Republican colleagues are listening and that they will step in, even if it's behind closed doors. If they will make those calls and say, we've got to end this now, and we've got to bring those people out of Minnesota and let our local law enforcement do our jobs. And I'll let some of my colleagues answer this.
Well, I'll just say that I completely agree with the mayor and the senator. But I mean, it is my obligation as a United States Senator to speak about what I think is happening in my state and to define it for what I think it is. That is my job. And one thing I have learned about this president is that he does not respond to appeasement. He is a bully. He does not respond to people who appease him. He responds much better to strength than he does to weakness. And I think what we have seen in this state, I am so proud of it. We have seen a combination of strength and peacefulness that really says who we are. And I believe that that is our best path forward for trying to convince this administration that the path that they are on is dangerous to public safety, and it is a losing path that they must abandon.
Message to Minnesotans who are just wondering when this is going to be over. I think a lot of people are feeling very tired and are just wondering when this is going to end. What's your message to your constituents?
It will be over when we speak as one voice, as one Minnesota, as everybody has been out in the streets. You know, ICE was here in June, And there wasn't any problem. We weren't happy about it. There were people who we were concerned about the way that deportations and arrests were happening. We were worried. But we handled it in a peaceful way. The escalation now is not because Minnesota changed. It is because this White House and Stephen Miller have decided to change their tactics here. It will end. It will end when our colleagues who are hearing from their constituents because they are reaching out to me and others, listen to their constituents and stand with their constituents and not stand with a White House that is not following the Constitution, breaking our laws, and not living up to the values of this country. That's when it will end.
What do you think the end game? What do you think the end game is for Donald Trump at this point? What is he hoping to accomplish with this? Anybody up there?
Anybody knows.
I don't think it is.
Look, I do not pretend to know what Donald Trump is thinking. I do know what they're saying publicly. And on the one hand, they are talking about this being an action that is required for safety, and it is doing exactly the opposite. It is creating danger in our state. Again, if this were about safety, there would be many, many options. Our governor has stated, I have stated, we are very much willing. In fact, we have been working with them to apprehend violent offenders, to prosecute these cases, to get criminals off of the streets. That is not what we are talking about right now. What they are also saying is that this is simply political retaliation. They are saying this is political retribution, and it's focused here on a blue city in a blue state. That's not how America works. Other countries function that way. We don't. And so no matter your background or your ideology, this should be of deep concern for you, no matter what town you're in America, because your town could be next. Your liberties, your freedoms could be sacrificed because of what this administration is doing.
And just thank you. Ending. I know our end game, and our end game is to keep Minnesota safe. And so we are asking that ICE get off of our streets and out of our state. Thank you.
You have follow-up questions, it's to communications@minneapolismn.gov, communications@minneapolismn.gov.